Okay, ladies and germs, just a couple announcements before y'all hits the rails on the ghost train. Keep your arms and legs inside the gondola at all times. Do not drink the water in the lagoon of goons under any circumstances. And when the guy under the sheet leaps out and says boo in the ghastly graveyard, even though this is a concealed carry ride, do not open fire. It's not a real ghost, it is an actor in training called Patrick. And now, unless there's any further questions, it's Crowley time.
Hello and welcome to Crowley Time with me, Tom Crowley. With me, Tom Crowley. This episode comes to you in that moment just after the 31st of October, but before we get truly elbow deep into November. That strange hinterland between the cold, stormy, spooky season and the warm fireside coves of Christmas, where you're already worrying about what gifts you're going to buy for your irritable, inscrutable loved ones, but you still have to go to work. And as those long, dark nights draw in, perhaps what you or your miserable, pernickety loved ones need is some new clothes. Luxurious, elegantly designed t-shirts and jumpers bearing the image of this fine program, perhaps. But more on that later. For now, join me on this haunted hiking expedition through eclectic, unfamiliar fields, where winter wholesomeness and autumnal heart-popping terror join hands and sway back and forth in an unsettling manner by a standing stone. Charming. Alright mate, do yous like getting a right nasty fright? Do you like having your big flopsy-wopsy man-tit scared off you? Do you get off work after a bastard long day and think, I feel like shitting myself tonight? Only these days most of the stuff that scares the shite out of you is dead boring, like the mortgage and whether any of your friends like you anymore and whether your mind is starting to fail you, that sort of carry on. Well, it sounds like you need to reintroduce something a wee bit more exotic and mysterious into your life. Sounds like you need to take a walk on the dark side with an elegantly haunted brunette. Sounds like you need to take a trip into the bat-infested boudoir of me, Skelenora profanicata. I've been creeping the shite out of people for 10 years now, starting with my groundbreaking win as most unsettlingly desirable witch at Glasgow HorrorCon 2012, through taking home the Horror Channel's Gold Pissy Drawers Award in 2018, right up till last month when I was named Scariest and or Spookiest Enterprise at the Scottish Business Awards 2022. All the big shots agree. If you need to get so scared your balls shrivel up and hide away up inside you, you need Skelenora profanicata, the last name in horrifying telecommunications. So how can you get the willies put well and truly up you? Just ring my shock line at 0600 666 666 and one of our operators will be with you right away.
Alright, miss. Oh, that's right, the lines are heaving the new, but Miss Profanicata will be with you shortly. What sort of nightmarish ordeal was it you're hoping to experience today?
Some other Frightline operators use imitators or call centres, but no me, pal. If you're in Skelenora, you get Skelenora. After a bit, I'm a busy woman. But if you're kept waiting, we've got all the classic ghosty tunes you could want on our hold line. Bauhaus, The Cure, the soundtrack for Interview with a Vampire, you name it. But if you're ringing during peak times, 3am to 5am, be warned that calls cost £1 a minute from a landline, and from a mobile phone, forget it, mate. I tell you how much it costs, but I don't give the really scary stuff away for free, know what I mean? It's worth it, but just listen to this authentic recording of yet another satisfied Shockline customer.
Hello? Is that Skelenora? I was hoping you could spook the living daylights out of us. I've been up the telephone pole sorting out the wiring all day and I'm bored out my nut. Right. Ah!
Well, he certainly had his trousers spooked off, wouldn't you agree? So if you're needing to get absolutely bloody stricken, call the shock line at 0600 666 666 and I'll see to it you're pissing blood within the first 2 minutes or your money back. I'll do it myself. I'll creep into your house late at night and leave the cost of your call under your pillow if you're not satisfied. That's how confident I am I can give you the brown trouser treatment in 120 seconds or less. I might even whisper some shite about ghouls and spiders in your ear while I'm there, hoping they find their way into your dreams. It's a full service I provide, and trust me, I love my work. If I didn't need to eat, I'd scare fuck out of people for free all day probably. But I know I'm not the only one that's got to work to live, so I'm diversifying the operation. If you're short of time, you can get in touch with us on our Cobb website via skillanora.com's handy live chat feature. Or should that be undead chat feature? Just my little joke. Just leave your message and I'll fire one back at you as soon as I get a sec. Well, she won't be getting much sleep tonight, and neither will I, 'cause I'll be waiting for your call on Skillanora's shock line. Lines open from 8 p.m. till 7 in the morning for all your shite yourself needs. And if you need me outside those times, just check the Glasgow Necropolis. I'll probably be down there with my trusty shovel, looking for your great-granddad's skeleton so I can get off with it. Now that's what I call a dry ride.
Skillanoria Bravaniciata's shock line. No for children under 18, those with dodgy hearts or wimps. Cheers.
And while we're on telephones, let's check the messages. Hello, this is Crowley Time with me, Tom Crowley with me, Tom Crowley. We can't take your call at the moment. Please leave your message after the tone.
Submitted for your approval, the most terrifying fate that can ever befall a broadcaster. Little Tom Crowley works hard on his radio show, toiling away long into the night. The only problem is, nobody's listening. Not a single solitary soul is listening anymore. Except perhaps for those in the twilight.
That's quite enough of that. Now, this. Coming soon to Channel 4. Knock, knock. Oh, hello, love. Sorry, it's these bloody budget meetings. Takes hours for my head to stop spinning. Ravi giving you hell again? Well, it is a financial crisis. That's when the Treasury's meant to give the Prime Minister hell. A groundbreaking new drama, envisioning a very different United Kingdom. Yes, I suppose you're right. Listen, are we still going to that benefit concert tonight? The, cerebral palsy awareness? Oh, bugger and blast, I completely forgot about it. I thought you might. What do you think? God, just imagine curling up in front of the telly for a night. Can, if you like. An innovative work of speculative fiction that dares to ask, what if? It wasn't announced that you were going to speak, and you've been so busy lately. Maybe this is one you can just skip. I don't know. I could open a bottle. Well, no. Come on. These people have it much worse than me, and what sort of example would I be setting if I just ditched them? Yes, you're right. I better put on a nicer shirt. Great. I'll send for the car. The Prime Minister who chose to do something in the interests of the British public. Coming soon to your television sets from an alternate universe just out of arm's reach. The Guardian called it a wildly imaginative world beyond belief. The Independent said it's a ludicrous fantasy of naive idealism. And the Mail said, what will the pinko tree-hugging London wokerati dream up next? This could never happen, not if we have anything to say about it. Just one thing. This is the third night we've kept the babysitter late this week. You're right. Better give her a raise. Good idea. The Prime Minister who chose to do something in the interests of the British public. Coming to make you feel briefly optimistic and then crushingly depressed soon. But coming up next, it's me! Ho, ho, ho! Do not adjust your podcast. I am controlling the transmission. Yes, that's right. It's me, your favorite holly jolly festive creature, Mr. Christmas, making a very off-season appearance at Halloween. Or at least the period between Halloween and Guy Fawkes Night. Ho, ho, ho! It just doesn't seem right, does it? After all, who could be frightened of me? Nobody, that's who! Ho, Especially not when I come bearing such wonderful tidings of great joy as I do right now. For you see, whereas previously you languished in rags and could only demonstrate your love for the sketch comedy podcast Crowley Time using words and gestures, now, as Tom alluded to in his introduction, now you can buy, yes, really buy, official Crowley Time merchandise. And I cannot stress enough that unlike most advertisements on this podcast, this one is real. This is real. Available now at crowleytime.com, you can buy sweaters and t-shirts bearing the gorgeous logo of this very program in two styles. There's the Maximum Elite t-shirt bearing a large reproduction of this show's logo, and if that's not luxurious enough for you, the Sumptuoso sweatshirt with a beautifully embroidered badge of Tom's bellowing face on the chest. Both garments are of the highest quality. They're both eco-friendly products made of more than 70% organic or recycled materials, and they both ship worldwide via my magic sleigh, which is the nickname I use for my large network of international shipping companies. The Maximum Elite t-shirt costs £24, and the Sumptuoso sweatshirt costs £35, not including shipping, which is, of course, a monstrously brilliant bargain. But because they make such delightful Christmas presents, I've sprinkled a little fairy dust and bent Tom Crowley's arm all the way around behind his back. Please, it hurts. Shut up. So that all Crowley Time Patreon supporters can get 15% off all orders of as many garments as they like by using the secret discount code, which can be found in this episode's accompanying supporter-exclusive Patreon post. What's that? You're not supporting this show on Patreon yet? Well then, it sounds like someone's going to find a lump of coal somewhere on Christmas morning. Or else you could just go to patreon.com/CrowleyTime and become a supporter today. But you'll have to be quick. This is a limited time only 15% off offer for winter 2022. So supporters, get your orders in quick because the discount code expires on the 1st of January 2023. And non-supporters, get your orders in quick so that I don't swim up into your house through your toilet on Christmas Eve and tamper with your figgy pudding while you're asleep. And where can you get those orders in? Why, at crowleytime.com, like I said before, for Christmas's sake. That's crowleytime.com for the Crowley Time Maximum Elite t-shirt and Sumptuoso sweatshirt. Buy them. Buy them. Or else. But for now, let's see if anyone's called.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. It's your trusty old D-companion, the Crypt Keeper here, and I just got on the terror phone to drop you a message, like a bloody mess, saying that... Look, I need some new writers. Most of the old guys have retired or moved on to their own stuff, and it's really tough to keep finding new horror-related puns all the time. So, if you know anybody with that kind of experience, even someone with like an improv background who could help me toss some ideas around, then just scream!
Maddie, did you finish your homework?
Oh, Maddie, are you watching this show again?
Oh, come on, Dad, give me a break.
How can you like this, honestly?
Give it a chance, Dad. Come on, watch it with me.
I can never understand what's going on in these shows. They just look like guys in red suits, punching stuff.
Just sit down. The theme song explains the whole story.
There was a group of 3 kids, a nerd, a cool kid, and a girl. They were close as close could be, just the best friends in the world. So they swore a blood oath, cut their hands with rusty knives, when Count Dracula appeared and transmogrified their lives.
Dracula? What?
They got special suits and weapons and could take on any danger, and the Count said,
"Pleb, audacious, you 3 are now the Blood Rangers."
Red Blood Rangers.
So Dracula made them superheroes.
Yeah!
Okay.
Dracula said to them that they had a job to do to defeat the cosmic goblins and the Huguenots too.
The Huguenots?
Zombified John Calvin rules from his glass moon palace, where the cosmic goblins gather to plot misery and malice. So the Blood Rangers attacked and faced many spells and dangers, but no Protestant or goblin could defeat the Blood Rangers.
Okay, so the Blood Rangers are some kids, and they put on special red suits to fight John Calvin, the Huguenots, and the cosmic goblins on the moon. I think I get it.
Shh, it's not finished.
Oh.
McDanny captured Calvin,
McDanny?
with a blood knife in his face, when the Ranger special powers disappeared without a trace. You see, Augustine of Hippo found the holy comic book, wherein Dracula discovered all the powers that he took. So the three kids all were banished back inside those printed pages to fight all the 2D monsters who despise the Blood Rangers.
Okay, Maddie, I'm really struggling here.
What's the problem? The Rangers got banished back into the comic book where their suits and powers came from, and then they had to fight their way out.
Right, so now they're in the comic book world.
No, this is still the origin story before the series started.
The show hasn't started yet?
The Staple King decreed
Who?
that all computer life was banned, so the Rangers had to help the Pixel people make their stand.
Who?
The analogs and pixels fought a brutal 2D war, and the 3D Blood Rangers were left unsure who to fight for. Then an alien with a hole punch dug the Rangers out of there, and flew them to his planet in a galaxy who knows where.
So now they're in another galaxy.
There he told them off his mission, use the power of nebula beams to cut his planet in half and feast on its mantle creams.
Mantle creams?
Enticed by special creams, they agreed to help the stranger, but they have to pass their SATs as well as being Blood Rangers.
Maddie, this show has too much premise.
Come on, Dad, it's not that complicated.
And how can you tell them apart? They're all red.
Dad, it's obvious. McDanny's ranger suit has the gold emblem, Lisbeth carries the sword of Hinkelstein, and the Dauphin possesses pure joie de vivre.
The Dauphin? What? Are we in the show yet?
Almost, hang on.
With blood powers on their side, Calvin has no place to hide, cause the tasty mantle creams activate blood laser beams, while Count Dracula defends the waterfowl of the English fens. Sure as little baby Jesus makes no crying in his manger, you can bet your bottom dollar on the
Blood Rangers!
Is it over?
Blood Rangers!
Is this the show now?
Yes, Dad, just watch.
Say, Dauphin, what's that you got there? This is a Schlumbergera, McDanny, a species of cactus native to the mountains of southeastern Brazil.
Neat, but if we're in Brazil, what's Churchill doing here?
Oh, McDanny, do I have a story to tell you?
Good God, Maddie, this is bilge.
You should see the video game.
What happens in the video game? Do you fight monsters and Protestants?
No, you have to make a series of strategic marriages to take over the 9 houses of feudal China.
They haven't even mentioned anything like that.
Yeah, the game's mostly based on season 19. It's pretty runky.
What the hell does runky mean?
You never even try to understand me.
Don't you take that tone with me, young man. I'm a professional fiberglass wholesaler and I demand respect in my own house.
It's Grandpa's house.
Well, he's almost dead anyway. What's the difference?
Lots of difference, because he's leaving the house to me.
Oh, no, he's not. You're not going to get him to change that. Hello again, listeners. Now, I reckon we've just about got time for a quick look at your lovely correspondence in the middle of this jam-packed episode, so I've nipped in here to the sorting room. No sign of Savaloy the postmaster, though. Other than the letters, the only thing in here is this huge looming sarcophagus. Must be one of Sir Chuntley's props he's keeping in here. It is pretty spooky. It feels like an ancient mummy could leap out at any second and start strangling me. Hello in there.
Hello?
Oh!
Is that you, Mr. Crowley?
Oh, must be some sort of automated recording or something. Gave me quite a fright.
Hello?
Good trick, though.
Hello? Hello? Oh.
But anyway, on to your messages. We've had a couple of lovely tweets. Here's a nice one from Thea, at Soap by Thea on Twitter, who's talking about the last full episode, number 24, guest starring Beth Eyre. Thea says, love this. I want a series about Tom's knight and Beth's queen. Just Tom doing random tasks for her, maybe helping her hang a painting. Glad you enjoyed the sketch, Thea. Rest assured I've got pitches for the epic maxi series of Queen Aeolia of the Lowland Folk out to all the major streamers, and I'm sure they'll be writing back with their opening offers shortly. Here we've got one from Tim Mitchell, at Tim Mitchell 1971, referring to another sketch from the same episode. We all had a Bradley at school, and anyone who thinks they didn't, they were the Bradley. Too right, Tim. Finally on the tweet sheet, this one's from Louise Robb at Lou Robb. Enjoyed this while watching my kid fling himself around an inflatable swimming pool-based obstacle course, which is how I expect you probably imagine your listeners enjoying each episode. Now, I'm glad you've brought this up, Louise, because yes, that is in fact the ideal way to listen to each and every episode of Crowley Time. If you don't have a child, and you can't find one, and you haven't got access to a swimming pool obstacle course, you might try throwing some sacks of shredded newspaper down a laundry chute to get the approximate effect, but it just won't quite be the same. We've also had an email in from Brett Johnson. Hi, Brett. Brett's email reads, Dear Mr. Crowley, I recently listened to your interview with the Venerable Zara de la Mer. That was the recent episode 6 of Faces of Virtue, my occasional mini-series, also found on this podcast feed, true believers. And injudiciously slurping at an overly hot mug of tea, the moment that you observed that Tippy Hedron killed the key grip, I immediately aspirated a bolus of scalding tea and very nearly asphyxiated. It took 3 full minutes of hacking and wheezing and gasping for my blood oxygen to return to a concentration compatible with life. As I floundered about in my struggle with death, I experienced that entire life running before the eyes thing one hears of, and I'm now weeping with the stark realization that I've not done a worthwhile thing in nearly 60 goddamned years. Damn it. Also, my diabetic cat was so alarmed by my paroxysms that he is in hiding, somewhere in this shambles that we inhabit. I cannot find him, and his insulin dose is overdue. Why have you done this to me, Tom? Why? I am pleased to remain your obedient servant, etc., etc., B. Johnson. Well, Brett, much as it may seem sometimes like I concoct these unlikely situations just to torment and inconvenience you, let's be realistic. To do that, I'd have to not only spend hours and hours researching you and all the things you find funniest, I'd also have had to install a complex surveillance system in your home, observing what times of day you like to listen to Crowley Time and at what point in a sketch or scene you're most likely to take a sip of your tea. And the odds against me, a comedian who you've never even met, as far as you know, setting all that up just to, give you a near-death experience which makes you reconsider your life and what you'd like to do with it and gain a newfound appreciation of the power of my comedy output, well, it just doesn't seem very plausible, does it? Sorry about your cat, though. That wasn't part of the plan. I mean, none of it was. Part of the plan, I mean. The plan which doesn't exist. But anyway, Brett, to throw you off the scent, I mean to say thanks for taking the time to write in, I'm awarding you Letter of the Episode! And as Letter of the Episode, you win the Letter of the Episode prize, a free downloadable copy of Discount Bin, this show's first soundtrack album. It'll be with you shortly. And if you'd like to join the conversation, then please do write in with any thoughts you have on the show to crowleytimepodcast@gmail.com. That's crowleytimepodcast@gmail.com. Bodacious. Or you could just tweet me at @ATomCrowley. I always love hearing from you lovely listeners and really appreciate it whenever you take the time to send me any non-abusive correspondence. But for now, I'd better close up the sorting room. That sarcophagus prank scared me again. Okay, we get it. You're a very old, very frightening Egyptian.
Very grateful, really, Mr. Crowley. Oh, please don't.
I must remember to tell Chunty to put that silly thing somewhere else. And speaking of that roguish old thesp, it's time for the moment we all look forward to every Halloween, or at least every period between Halloween and Guy Fawkes Night. Give me a break. Yes, it's time for us to take a chilly, nut-shrivelling dip into the drama parlour.
Spooky tidings to you, listeners. I do trust that you had an enjoyable Halloween night, and that as old Nick skipped along the roof tiles, celebrating his last night of freedom before his annual All Saints' Day banishment, he passed over your house and whispered a curse down your obnoxious neighbor's chimbley instead. But while all the world's real devils and demons have been cast out, we still have those created by the warped minds of our fellow humans to put the frighteners up us, and perhaps, if we're good, other implements too. Tonight's spine and bum-tingling tale is the erotic horror classic Sodom in Cirencester by Ned Wheatsheaf. And let's just say, I'm even more excited than usual to get the spine cracked on this one. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Chapter 1.
frilly knickers on the vestry floor. Oh, I should cocoa. Ava Eriksson was gazing disconsolately at the baggage carousel at Stansted arrivals. She had just stepped off the 10:20 from Stockholm, and already the grey skies over London were dulling her usually sunny outlook. All this changed in an instant, however, when she felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. She span around to see a rakishly handsome face with neatly trimmed whiskers, cheekbones you could cut a traditional Swedish cheese pie with, and the darkest, most penetrating eyes she had ever felt alight upon her. "Hello, young lady. My name's Harry Mephisto, and you look like you could do with a right good..."
Hello?
Hello? Can anyone read me? This is Link Tangent making an emergency distress call. I've been trying to reach Galactic Central Command, but I think my transmitter was damaged in an attack by that thing. So I'm broadcasting on every frequency that will connect to tell you that these are the diaries of Link Tangent Space Cartographer, faithfully maintained in case I fall victim to the thing stalking my ship and you want to know what to call the pile of giblets you find later. Link's log, space year, Gloi Bix, space month, November. I've been loyally fulfilling my cartographic duties, surveying this sector of space in my trusty ship, Space Car, for some weeks now, accompanied only by Little Dribbles, my small lizard son who has the exact same face as me. Although... but we'll get to that. Today I began mapping the Spicy Tempura Nebula, a task which was proving to be as uneventful as it was tedious, until suddenly I noticed an anomaly. A distress beacon, only 0.00001 light-years from the event horizon of a nearby brown hole. These space phenomena have many of the same incredible physical properties as a black hole, but they smell worse. It appeared to be a GCC standard distress broadcast, but any GCC-ratified spacefarer would know never to go within a barge pole's length of the event horizon, at least no barge pole shorter than 0.0001 light-years. Once the ship was close enough to establish visual contact, it looked like a standard T-93 see-you-later shipping freighter. I held its frequency and was met by the panicked face of the pilot, a very distressed-looking Cygnosian. Cygnosians, if you don't know, have extremely long necks, not unlike Earth swans, and are covered in white feathers, not unlike Earth swans, and have wings and webbed feet almost exactly like Earth swans, but human noses. I reassured him that I was on my way. I used my suction cup grappler to latch onto the struggling vessel and pull it well back from the point of terminal accretion before extending my docking tube and boarding. As soon as I stepped aboard, I knew something was wrong. The entire ship was silent, and the smell was overpowering, an emission from the brown hole's inner ring. No, this was much more familiar. The source of the smell became clear when I stepped into the cockpit. There, slumped over the dash, just beneath the fuzzy space dice and just to the left of the jiggly space hula girl ornament, was the Cygnosian pilot. Dead. But stranger still, from the intense stench, the visible decomposition, and the space vultures pecking curiously at the windshield, it seemed apparent that the pilot had been dead for weeks, days at least, and yet I had spoken to him only minutes before. Curious. Wary of prolonged exposure to brown radiation and being branded as stinky poo pants, I followed the GCC's emergency scuppering protocol double quick. I stole the pilot's watch, ransacked the ship's peanut butter stocks, and set the freighter's controls for the heart of the hole. Back on Space Car, I mournfully watched the freighter disappear into the darkness of the brown hole with a tiny, distant I turned Space Car back towards where I'd left off mapping the Spicy Tempura Nebula, the bottom left-hand corner near the gas station, but was startled to discover that my main thrusters had been taken offline. Manually. But aside from Little Dribbles, I was alone on this ship. Wasn't I? Oh God. Oh God, it's getting closer. Oh God, please don't...
Reckon you could try again? Implored Ava.
Look, love, I may be the son of literal Satan, but I'm not a machine, replied Harry, his sweaty body sliding limply off Ava onto the slightly rucked-up sheets beneath.
But I haven't even,
Ava began to protest, before being cut off by some truly hellish snoring from Harry.
Typical, huffed Ava. I spent hours and hours working on that little goat wheel.
Hello? Hello? Do you still read me? I hope, the thing has moved on to another part of Space Car. but I managed to conceal myself inside this large ventilation duct just in time, and it passed by so close that I got a good look at it, and it's everything I feared. But let me go back. On my way to investigate the deactivated thruster controls, I suddenly heard a monstrous sound, sort of like... Yes, like that. After patting my groin and reassuring myself that I had not, as I feared, filled my airtight spacesuit with hot urine, I inched myself along the hallway and peered into the engine room, only to be knocked back, wham, by some huge spindly-limbed being at least 8 feet long as it fired past me. I wonder if I hadn't been flattened against the wall, whether it might not have torn right through me, suit, blubber, and all. But the really frightening thing was the brief glimpse I got of the creature as it passed. I didn't dare believe it at first, but I knew deep down, straight away, I knew what I was looking at. If you've received my transmissions before, you might have noticed that during this log entry, I've not been accompanied by my usual companion, my lizard son, Little Dribbles. You haven't been hearing his sweet little cries of, Mama. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. I think it's picked up my scent. I think he's picked up my scent. Oh God.
Well, look, I could try putting a finger up there. Apparently, with men, sometimes that can help.
Do you read? Hello? I have managed to escape the duct with my blubber intact, and I'm even now trying to evade the beast, which, as you probably already surmised, can best be described as Big Dribbles. How he has grown so suddenly, and how his usually sweet attitude has turned so, how can I put it, counterproductively murderous, I cannot say. Is this just the adult stage of his life, arriving more suddenly than expected? Or was he gravely affected by the toxic radiation from the brown hole? Either way, it doesn't matter. It's a question of survival now, so I must come to terms with the possibility that I may have to kill my own lizard son. I've made it to the armory closet. Come on. Yes! Now, we're here. My extra-large Mondo compass with 4-foot titanium spike for mapping extra-large areas of space, and for ceremonial occasions. This should put a stop to that... Oh God, but can I do it? It may be a vicious, snarling beast, but after all, it's still my child. What can I... Little Dribbles, what are you doing in here? Mama. You were hiding in the armory closet, but if you're in here, then that thing can't be Little Dribbles. All right then. Come and get me, you great big phony lizard bag.
It's nothing to do with you, I'm just tired, insisted Harry. Well, if this is how the legions of hell do business, I might as well go and become a nun, pouted Dave.
Come in. This is Link Tangent. It's over. I'm alive. I can't believe it, but I'm alive. In its rage, the supposed Big Dribbles charged straight at me, right onto the 4-foot bayonet spike of my ceremonial Mondo compass. As it flailed desperately for life, it changed. It mutated before my eyes, firstly into an exact double of the Cygnosian pilot, no doubt that's what I'd conversed with over the comlink, then into a tastelessly gaudy armchair, then into several different breakfast cereal mascots, then ancient philosopher Peter Andre, then the armchair again, but this time swinging a big old set of balls, until finally collapsing lifeless in the form of a sort of teddy bear-looking creature with 4 huge compound eyes and 6 long mantis-like limbs. This explained everything. While I had never before encountered a morphozoid in person, their legend is known to all who venture into the far reaches of deep space. Stealthy, shape-changing parasites of extreme cunning and near-infinite adaptability to different environments, whose only objective is to infiltrate, feed on living things, and then hide until the urge to feed takes them again. So strong and adaptable is the morphozoid that I'm not sure I can trust that it's truly dead. But there's one place close by that I know no living creature can adapt to. The winking epicenter of a brown hole. So I've loaded its body into one of Space Car's torpedo tubes, and in 3, 2, 1... and it is done. Rest in stink, morpho creep. If there's one good thing to take away from this encounter, it's the realization of just how much my beloved lizard son has come to mean to me. Even when it was kill or be killed, I knew I could never bring myself to harm little Dribbles, no matter how unlittle he may be. Mama to you too, my sweet scaly boy. The cold, unmarked highways of space are a less lonely place with you around. But no matter how cold or how lonely or how filled with razor-clawed Peter Andres these starfields may be, it's good to be back, mapping them for all they're worth, which on my contract is 12 cred bucks 50 per cubic light year. A couple more weeks and I'll have enough saved up to buy a space helmet with no cracks in it. This is Link Tangent getting back to work, signing off. Oh, God, the smell of that brown hole really lingers, doesn't it?
Just as it was about
to step onto the plane, Ava paused and turned. "And when you go bragging to your demon mates about this," she shouted down at Harry, who waved from the runway, "don't make it sound like I had a good time, because I didn't." "I won't," Harry lied. The end. Well, Ava's naughty escapade certainly contained a lot more disappointment and embarrassment than I remembered, listeners. But at least it was very, very descriptive. And whether you've ever visited a strange new place, or you've struggled to live up to unrealistic expectations, or you've found yourself in a compromising position involving a traffic warden and a chocolate eclair, there's something in Ned Wheatsheaf's story that everyone can relate to. Join me for more adventures outside of your comfort zone next time we rattle the dusty old doorknob of the Drama Parlor.
Well, you were brave, weren't you? You trekked through the thick forests with their bare-limbed, grasping trees and made it to the reward of a roaring fire, fluffy bunny slippers and a cup of hot cocoa. And while you're kicking your feet up and down, staging a little play for those bunny slippers to perform in, perhaps you'd like to pick up your phone or laptop or tablet device and pop over to crowleytime.com to investigate the brand new, hot off the sewing machine, officially licensed Crowley Time Maximum Elite t-shirts and Sumptuoso sweatshirts. The perfect winter gift for a Crowley-indoctrinated friend or family member, or perhaps the perfect fashion indulgence for a hard-working, chilly podcast listener who needs some fancy new threads for the colder months. Find out more at crowleytime.com. But if it's not threads for your torso you want, but rather treats for your ears, then I have another show to recommend to you. Several very good friends of this show are involved in the creation of the new Giallo-inspired comedy horror anthology podcast, Ramon Fear's Terror Tapes, the first 3 episodes of which are available now. You can hear me in episode 2, The Charlatan, alongside Faces of Virtue contact Susan Harrison and many other fine performers. Likewise, you can hear my guest from Crowley Time 24, Beth Eyre, in Terror Tapes 1, Fish Food, and my guest from Crowley Time 21, Lucy Farrett, in Terror Tapes 3, Lease of Life. It's a show you should be all over, is the point, and its luscious music and sound design are the handiwork of elite-tier Crowley ally Odin Ornhill-Marson, whose musical wizardry you may have already heard on the Crowley Time soundtrack album Discount Bin, also available at crowleytime.com. Catch up on the first 3 Terror Tapes right away, and then keep an eye out for their upcoming crowdfunding campaign at ramonfear.com. Speaking of supporting independent silliness, thanks as ever to all those choosing to pay, yes, pay, $2 per episode or local equivalent to prop up this show at patreon.com/crowleytime. It's an immense help and keeps me pumping away at the comedy churns with persistent vigour. Sorry, that sounded absolutely disgusting. But regardless, thank you so much, and for your loyalty, you get a bonus musical treat this month, as well as that coveted 15% off the new Crowley Time merchandise through till the end of 2022, thanks to Mr. Christmas and his steely grip. Go to patreon.com/crowleytime to claim your rewards, or to sign up for the first time and gain access to all the bonus material I've ever put out, which at this point is hours and hours of extra fun for the true Crowley aficionado. God, I'm too good to you. The next episode will be released when Elon Musk first has the thought that other human beings might actually exist and be real. So make sure to subscribe, so you'll be alerted at the precise moment that happens. Everything you've just heard was made by me, Tom Crowley. Please submit all praise, questions or complaints to @atomcrowley on Twitter, or email crowleytimepodcast@gmail.com. To help me endure the expense of the defamation lawsuit that Elon Musk is about to lay at my door, go to patreon.com/CrowleyTime and become a supporter today. Or go to crowleytime.com and buy some of this show's branded clobber or its soundtrack album. And remember, you can't have a rainbow without a little rain. Just like you can't have a crossbow without a little cross. Or a bilbo without a little bill.
What's this, Dad?
Now, this is a real show for kids. Now, this is from when I was your age.
Oh, cool.
We didn't have all this stuff about internecine religious conflict or the Dauphin. In my day, we kept things nice and simple with good stories and strong characters.
Hey, kids, it's time for Major Action and his individualist response team. Now let's be the world's policeman.
Great.
Stand to attention, soldier. Lone Star, are you finished with that well yet?
See? They're building a well for
Yeah, sure am, Major. I dumped enough white phosphorus in there to melt the face off of a rhinoceros. That village won't know what hit it.
Good. Paving the way for Slipstream and his carpet bombs.
Roger, copy that.
Next time, those children will think twice about living on such a rich oil deposit.
You said it, Major Action.
And remember, kids, socialized healthcare is fascism.
It's a little different to how I remember it.
Yeah.
Let's put the blood guys back on.
Okay, Dad. Churchill's still trying to find a venue for the talent show.
Good.